For nearly half a century, political power in Tamil Nadu operated as a closed circuit. Since 1977, the state government has been swapped exclusively between two massive Dravidian parties. Breaking this duopoly was widely considered impossible. Then came the 2026 election. After a massive revision scrubbed duplicate entries from the rolls, the state saw a historic 85.1% voter turnout. Those numbers reflected a highly motivated, frustrated public, actively looking for a completely new direction. Two distinct forces stepped up to capture that frustration. On one side was Seeman and his Naam Tamilar Katchi party, a veteran activist who had spent a decade building a dedicated grassroots following. On the other side was C. Joseph Vijay, a massive cinematic star making his debut with the Tamilaga Vettri Kazhagam party. This chart shows the final assembly seat distribution between the two disruptors. Vijay's brand new party captured 108 seats, becoming the single largest bloc in the legislature. Seeman, after 10 years of nonstop campaigning, secured absolute zero. The rejection of the NTK was remarkably thorough. Even in Karaikudi, Seeman's own native hometown, the veteran leader finished in an embarrassing fourth place, trailing the TVK candidate by tens of thousands of votes. So how does an electorate actively seeking a political revolution decide to hand sweeping administrative power to an untested actor while completely wiping a seasoned activist off the map? Social psychologists study a phenomenon called the image trap, where the public cannot separate the virtuous characters an actor plays from the actual person. Between 2017 and 2024, Vijay systematically selected films focusing on corruption and systemic exploitation. He spent 7 years pre-marketing his ideology, establishing himself as a moral guardian long before a single ballot was cast. He leaned heavily into the Thalapathy, or commander archetype. It's a leadership profile built on proactive, highly organized problem-solving. It speaks directly to a younger generation that prioritizes modern efficiency over pure ideology. By contrast, Seeman operated under the Annan, or elder brother archetype. He relied on traditional authority, delivering lecturing speeches that framed Tamil culture as being on the verge of destruction. An aspirational electorate looking for upward mobility will rarely vote for a prophet of doom. They vote for the person offering a tangible, organized way forward. To win in Tamil Nadu, a politician has to navigate the legacy of Periyarism, the foundational social justice movement that historically drove caste reform and social mobility in the state. Instead of fighting this legacy, Vijay's new party strategically adopted Periyar as a guiding light. This allowed him to offer a fresh, corruption-free alternative while letting voters keep their core social identity intact. He broadened this base further by elevating Periyar Ambedkar alongside Periyar, explicitly signaling a highly inclusive secular movement dedicated to broad equality. This line graph traces the electoral collapse of the NTK. Notice the steep plunge from an 8.2% vote share down to exactly 4%. Seeman built his platform on aggressive attacks against Periyar and rigid definitions of ethnic purity. That exclusionary stance alienated the majority of the state, resulting in massive ideological fatigue. The data reveals exactly where those frustrated voters went. Here, we see a geographic map of the 44 constituencies reserved for scheduled castes. 23 of them went to the TVK. Dalit communities experienced a psychological decoupling, abandoning the established alliances and rejecting the NTK's ethnic purity model to vote for TVK's promise of fair development. If you want voters to embrace radical change, you have to provide a familiar psychological safety net. Inclusive social justice scales. Ethnic purity does not. Policy rhetoric played an equally critical role. Seeman aggressively criticized government welfare and freebies, calling them a curse on the economy. While that appeals to some intellectuals, millions of working-class families who literally rely on state support to survive heard an unsympathetic, elitist attack. The TVK took a radically different approach. They rebranded welfare programs as citizen privileges. By proposing a legal right to service act, they turned what used to feel like political charity into administrative accountability. This allows citizens to accept financial help without the psychological burden of feeling like dependents. They implemented a strategy called dual tracking. The manifesto promised direct economic relief, like monthly stipends for women, while simultaneously proposing a Ministry of Artificial Intelligence to attract upwardly mobile, educated youth. But a manifesto is just paper without a machine. Behind the scenes, Vijay's sprawling cinema fan clubs underwent a corporate-style reorganization. Millions of fans were converted into highly disciplined booth workers who effectively blocked the established parties from using their usual localized election manipulation tactics. Social media reach and passionate rhetoric count for little at the ballot box, without a credible roadmap for governance and the ground game to protect the votes. The final map of the 2026 election revealed a localized geographic shockwave. Urban and industrial hubs rejected the historic giants. The Greater Chennai region, long considered the untouchable fortress of the ruling DMK party, saw 14 of its 16 assembly seats fall directly to the TVK. The disruption hit with such precision that even the sitting chief minister lost his home constituency. Vijay's victory capped a decade-long choreography of leadership, successfully bridging the gap between a cinematic mythos and a rigorous administrative reality. Now, the pressure shifts entirely to Vijay to actually execute his ambitious manifesto. At the same time, Seeman's 0 seats stand as a glaring warning to any political movement that relies on exclusionary nationalism. In a rapidly modernizing, technology-driven society, voters demand a clear blueprint for the future. Political anger is loud, but it is no longer a viable substitute for pragmatic answers.
Hello there. Thanks for watching this video. This is MacroMind YouTube channel and I am your Kyle Shema.